What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another video. Today is just going to be a quick short video about the top 5 books that I've read in my lifetime, in my opinion. So I'm not going to go into depth on each book, but just give a brief summary of what the book is about and why I liked it. Growing up, I saw my father reading a lot. He was an avid reader. My uncle always recommended books to me. My mom encouraged me to read. So as I grew older, reading was something that was a part of my life. I don't do it as much as I used to or as I would like to. But the 5 books in this video, if you are looking to pick up a book and try a new book or want to just read a good book, I highly recommend the 5 books in this video. You can learn a lot from many of them, and at the very least, they'll be entertaining to you. They're great reads. So book number 1 is The Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. So Outliers basically is a book that examines the attributes that extremely highly successful people possess as compared to attributes that an unsuccessful person may not possess, if that makes sense. So it basically is just kind of a guide to give you a little tips and tricks on things that you could change in your life to be more successful, or maybe you're doing something right. It'll give you a little bit of motivation to keep pushing and keep going forward with that thing that's better in your life. But it's just a good book overall, and Malcolm Gladwell is a wonderful author. So Outliers, great book. The second book is The Autobiography of Malcolm X as told to Malcolm Haley. This one's pretty self-explanatory. I'm sure a lot of people have already heard of The Autobiography of Malcolm X. At the very least, you've heard of Malcolm X. Funny story about this book: the one time that I got suspended from school in grade school, my punishment was that I had to read The Autobiography of Malcolm X, this very book, and write a book report on it and give it to my dad. That was my punishment. But nevertheless, it's a great read, very informational, especially if the story of Malcolm X intrigues you, because it goes very in-depth into his life from start to finish. The third book is The Richest Man in Babylon by David Deida. My Uncle Stanley recommended this book to me probably 10 years ago, so I read it back then, but I still skim back through it every now and then. It's basically just a guide to personal finance. It's a book of parables about how you can be successful financially in your life. It's a great read, a lot of good information in it. Highly recommend it. Fourth book is The Street Lawyer by John Grisham. It's a fiction book, but it's a very good read. It's about an attorney, a highly successful attorney named Michael Brock, who had a wild, life-changing encounter with a homeless man outside of his office. And that encounter essentially prompted him to change the entire way that he practiced law. Basically, he went from working for money and wanting to be super successful and rich to fighting the battles for those who couldn't fight for themselves. It's a pretty good book. Like I said, it's a great read. Highly recommend it. And John Grisham is one of my favorite authors. The last book is The Way of the Superior Man. The Way of the Superior Man is a self-help book. It's kind of a different type of book than most books I've ever read, even the self-help books that I've read. It basically goes into depth of how a man, or the masculine figure in a relationship, whether that be a friendship, a work relationship, any type of relationship, how the masculine figure in said relationship should operate as far as controlling your emotions, the way that you communicate, the verbiage that you use. Basically, it's a book that teaches you how to be in control of your emotions as a masculine. It's a great read. Take it with a grain of salt. It's not everybody's cup of tea. None of these books may be anyone's cup of tea, but The Way of the Superior Man is a great book that I love to read.